I think that the Yankees really are Cody Bellinger re-signing away from being in a very comfortable position to make decisions where they're not like, if Cody Bellinger doesn't come back, they have to fix the team in a lot of different ways. If Cody Bellinger comes back, they could be opportunistic and fix at the margins.
Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson. That's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Tuesday, October 14th. The New York Yankees season has officially ended, and we are in off-season mode here, Joel, and that's why we're so happy to have you here in studio. On today's episode, we're going to talk about where the Yankees are going this offseason, what are the moves they could potentially or not make potentially this offseason, what players could be moved from this roster, additions that could be put in this roster. We're going to break it all down in today's episode. But before I get to any of that, Joel Sherman, how you doing today?
Good. I got my playoff cold around early, and I'm still working, so we have this good separation of church and state here or something, so I'm not giving it to you or the lovely Heather over here. I'm working to stay in my own airspace, but and it also means that I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Because neither of the New York teams are in it. I'll rejoin the playoffs here at some point, certainly the World Series, maybe the end of an LCS someplace else, but we wanted to kind of wrap up the Yankee season, so I'm glad we're here doing it.
Me as well. Look, it's never easy to kind of unpack and figure out where this team stands, especially with how this season went. And I think you had hit on it a bunch last week about, is there a realization for this Yankees organization of, are they meeting the trend that maybe is going on in baseball right now with like a Blue Jays or a Brewers where they're high contact, low strikeout, have a ton of athletes on the roster, or do they continue to do more of the same where it's a lot of power, a lot of home runs, it gets us through the whole 162, and then it's a crapshoot pretty much in the playoffs itself. But for you right now in this moment, how does this work for the Yankees and Brian Cashman, his team? What exactly are they going through right now and evaluating how they want to go about this offseason?
So there's a lot to unpack there, Ryan. I think you hit a lot of the key stuff. So I'd like to deal with a macro issue first, which is the Yankees haven't won the World Series the last 16 seasons. And I think what tends to happen when there's failure at the end, which there's now been for 16 straight years, either at the end of a regular season, usually someplace in the postseason, is it all gets layered on top of each other. Oh, we didn't win again, kind of feeling among the fan base. I actually thought this year's team that ended the season was better than the team that went to the World Series. The team that went to the World Series was kind of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and pray for rain. Yeah. Like those guys had to carry it. We spent a lot of shows last year where I was saying they're bad at baseball. Yeah. And then at the end, games 1 and 5 are lost in the World Series. They might have won the World Series if they were not bad at baseball. By the end of this year, I thought they were above average on defense. That's a lot of Ryan McMahon and Cody Bellinger improving things overall. I thought they were at least more of a threat on the bases, more athletes, more speed, Caballero, Jazz, etc. They hit more homers this year than the Juan Soto team. They scored more runs than the Juan Soto team. Their rotation was very similar. The bullpen was worse. Yeah. And that maybe killed them in the end also. But I actually thought for a team that lost in the division series, it was better than a team that went to the World Series but got a favorable draw with 2 AL Central teams in Kansas City and Cleveland, who they were much better than. So I think that one of the things Yankees have to be kind of careful about, maybe the fan base thinking about it also, is, are we building from something a little better than they built off of a World Series team, off of an AL pennant team, which I think is probably accurate. Now let's deal with the other issue, which is putting the ball in play more and stuff like that. First of all, to your point, I think their defense, it might not be the Brewers, but it got better. And so, they're building off of a better defense. You've got to be careful at this time of year to overreact to certain things. And I certainly think that the bottom of their lineup has to put the ball in play. Guys like Volpe, if he's going to be on the team, and use his speed, whatever. But, Ryan, since 2021, this is an easy thing to look up. The team that hits more homers wins 90% of playoff games. Right. It's dramatic in this postseason. It's even higher. The Blue Jays ultimately out-homered the Yankees 9-4. The pitching is so great right now that if you don't put the ball over the fence in the postseason, it is hard to put 3 singles together, right? Ultimately, Seattle wins a game. Yesterday we're watching. It's walk, homer. Yeah. We don't like that about the Yankees. But that's how Seattle won a game, is walk homer. And so you need that. But also within the context of that, there are guys on the Yankees where power isn't their full calling card. And Volpe really stands out to me for this, who just can't strike out 28% of the time, right? We watched the Tigers get beat this year. The Tigers were a high strikeout team, and it killed them at certain points in the postseason. So I think we're seeing some of the better teams drive down strikeout numbers while understanding you better hit a certain amount of homers. It's not easy to do because, Ryan, how many times when we've done the show together where I go, we know the universe of players. Let's sit down and see the number of players who strike out less than 20% of the time, but also hit home runs regularly.
Yeah.
Like, there's just not a lot of these guys, and they're hard to get. So the question is, can you take a group of players, the Austin Wellses, the Volpes, the McMahons, who are good athletes, who have some stuff in them, and say, there are times where you must decide what kind of offensive player you're going to be. And by the way, this is philosophically, I'm sure a lot of Yankee officials would say to me, no, like this is casino baseball. Take your ace swing 3 times in every situation. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting let's go back to pepper the ball around. But there are certain situations where you have to decide, like, it's a life or death. I have to get the ball in play. And it's not taking the ace swing through 3 strikes. And the Yankees have to get closer to that. They hit 30 more homers than any team this year. 30 more. The question is, can they hit 40 fewer and still be a big home run team, but do it but have some other stuff as part of their offense? Now, some of that other stuff was speed.
Yep.
They got some of that this year. So I want to be careful not to just say, hey, let's pepper the ball around like it's 1971 again, because you got to get the ball over the fence. The numbers show it's clear.
Yeah.
You hit a home run in the postseason. You out-homer your opponent in the postseason. Brewers advance, right? 3 homers. Like, we think of the Brewers as the little engine that could, but that's how they advance. They hit 3 homers in a game. So I think you got to be careful a little bit about, like, hey, the strikeouts are going to be part of the litany if you hit the ball over the fence. The question is, can you drop the strikeout number 2%, 3%, and especially in what parts of the game are you sacrificing some power because you're playing the scoreboard, understanding that on June 12th, you might beat the White Sox playing this way. But what are you going to do in the postseason when sometimes the thing is you must get it in play?
It's a good question, and it's a good thought, right? Like, if you're Brian Cashman, I guess I would ask, are you valuing the players that you currently have on your roster, or as they can do this, and you're evaluating and saying, you know what, I think we can get more out of Volpe, we can get more out of Wells, we can get more out of maybe a Dominguez, or are you looking at the market and saying, no, we don't think we could do this in-house, and we think we might have to go outside our roster? Do you think that at all takes place where Cashman's basically saying, do we need a bigger overhaul on this roster, or should we really run it back, most of the pieces that we had, and making those tweaks that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think they're mostly going to run it back. I don't think the marketplace shapes up for what they want unless there's something that should be said. I think they really have to prioritize Bellinger, who fits into every little bucket we just talked about. You go down the universe of guys who don't strike out a lot and could put the ball over the fence. He hit 29 homers and struck out 14% of the time, which was a career low for him. But he's always a guy who limits strikeouts and can hit for power, play across the outfield, play first base. He could run, he could defend, he could hit left on left. To me, he's a very big priority for them. So, like, if you told me the Yankees brought back Bellinger, I think that they probably then do things around the edges, because I know the place that Yankee fans want to go, which is shortstop.
Yep.
But that, again, there's no shortstop store on 53rd and Madison. You only could get what's available.
Yeah.
And, like, what's available that you would feel comfortable and confident doing. And then part of it is you're always playing a little bit of a bridge game. Do you think George Lombard is ultimately going to be your shortstop? Maybe as the Yankees, you shouldn't never worry about a prospect down the road, but they probably don't want to block the position for too long. And internally, not Ryan Sampson and Yankee fans, internally, they still have faith that Volpe is going to be something. It is a comparison that I encourage Yankee fans. This is, by the way, doesn't come from the Yankees. It's my comparison. I ran some numbers and I noticed he has a very similar first 3 years of his career to Dansby Swanson. Dansby Swanson, as good a defender as he is, he led the National League in errors one year in those first 3 years. He had a sub 300 on base percentage. He struck out way too much. And then at about 27, 28, 29, he had his 3 best years. I don't think it's outrageous that the Yankees think that can happen for Volpe. More and more, I've come to believe that Volpe is probably a second baseman and not a shortstop, and that they would be best off getting to that. I continue to believe that their offensive philosophy hurts him and doesn't help him, and that he needs to either block them out or they need to say, we're not having an overall philosophy. For you, your amateur / minor league career was about being a good hitter.
Right.
And you're not a good hitter right now. The Yankees need to get to the point where when you look at Anthony Volpe, if they're going to move forward with him, and I'm sure they're going to move forward with him, where you reach a point where you go, he's a good major league hitter. Who cares how many homers come at the end of that? That's one of the places I would go from 265 homers to 200. Not that I'd rather hit 265. But if I have to go from 265 to 230, one of the places I would say is Anthony Volpe sacrificed 10. I actually think he wouldn't sacrifice as many as you think if he's hitting the ball more and hitting it well, because the right field at home will play to some of his power. I think as he gets comfortable and realizes what pitchers and what counts he should try to actually Dustin Pedroia a ball, he'll do that every once in a while, and he'll get to 15. 12 to 15, but if the end of that was 255 with a 320 on base percentage, like just above league average numbers, where he then gets to use his base running, his speed, it's just a different player. Can he get there? I don't know, but that's what I try to do with this player, especially if I was looking at a marketplace that doesn't, like, my gut is that Ha-Seong Kim of the Braves will make himself, will opt out of his player option. I do think the Braves are going to try to keep him. Would you give him like 3 years at $45 million to come play shortstop? I think if you watched him play every day, you might not love it either. You know, like that's one of those things. So what I would do if I were the Yankees is I would talk to Volpe about offense, but I would also say, it's 2023 again. You've got to come win your job in spring. And Caballero is a fine alternative if you still have a strong lineup to play shortstop. We saw he will field the ball. He will probably produce major league average offense with speed.
Which is what this lineup feels like it needs, though,
It does. So, like I'm not afraid of Caballero, and if he's all the way back, Oswaldo Cabrera mixed in there, shortstop, or somebody you pick up who you like as a quadruple A or a small player, like kind of guy on the marketplace, and say to Anthony Volpe, you have plenty of minor league options. If we've got to begin the season with you in the minor leagues next year, we will. You've got to come to spring training prepared to be a good major league hitter. But I think that's as much about Yankee philosophy as about Anthony Volpe.
Yeah.
If I tell you to change religions and you don't want to change religions, it's hard to do. And so I'm not sure philosophically if the Yankees are a great place for Volpe, because he feels like he's caught between all the time. And I think he should block them out and say, I was a first-round draft choice because I hit the ball in a certain way. Can I hit the ball in that way again? And have like real benchmarks. Can I strike out 22% of the time? 21%. That's like major league average.
Yeah.
Like if he was a major league average across the board, 250, 320, 22%, his value rises significantly.
Yeah.
And I think it would calm him down on defense if he was just major league average offense and wasn't having to deal with this all the time. And ultimately, again, I think he's a second baseman. Well, I think his arm is a second base arm.
Yeah, I mean, look, you hit on one of the big ones there with Volpe. The question is, will the Yankees actually have an open competition for him in spring training? Like, does it feel like they would actually do that, or are they just going to – because I feel like he's got two big supporters in that organization, and those are the two most important people. Brian Cashman and Anthony Volpe are big believers in Anthony Volpe. Why would they go in open competition and potentially damage this young player's morale and what his mentality is going into next year?
So I more and more don't believe in that.
Okay.
Which is, if that would damage his morale, he ain't going to succeed here anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, I think telling hard truths to players isn't the bad thing. Like, you're doing the player a favor. You're not doing something bad. Like, you have already expressed your loyalty and love to Anthony Volpe. I don't think that that's changing. I agree with you. I think Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman believe in the player, though I have a feeling maybe one of those two believes in it a little less than they used to.
Okay.
And I don't even know that you need to openly state that there is a competition as much as, like I think you could subtly say to him, every player does an exit interview. Every player is given off-season objectives, whether it's like add muscle, lose weight, work on this, pitchers like go to this lab, work on your changeup, etc. Anthony, we need you badly to do this for you to be whatever. Like, you should see some writing. Teams work with agents. Say to his agent, if you saw the September writing on the wall, we were willing to do something else for at least a week.
Yep.
Now, some of it coincided when Volpe needed a cortisone shot, but we were comfortable and won plenty of games when he wasn't playing.
Yep.
And we can do that. And this player is not Oswald Peraza. This player can play shortstop on at least a semi-regular basis. And if your guy isn't ready to do that, we'll have other options. I don't think that's the right act. I don't think that's bad. Like this is the biggest league in the world. It's competitive. Volpe won a job in a spring training one time. Go win a job again, man. And if that breaks you, you were gonna break. And I think like Volpe's been through a lot in these 3 years, from hero to GOAT.
Yeah.
Like, let's remember where Yankee fans were in spring training 2023, where they were all screaming, if you don't put him on the team, you're not trying.
Yeah.
Right? There was a time where that was the mindset of the Yankee fans. And he has gone from that state with their fan base to, is he the most disliked guy on the team now? You're the fan. You tell me.
I would say he's up there, yeah.
Right. So, like he's been through quite a lot. He's a local kid, so he hears all the noise 12 months a year. I would assume friends and family are not ignoring social media.
Seen a lot with the dad. I've seen a lot with the dad.
And they're probably not making his life easier.
No.
So he's been through a lot. It won't be a lot more to say. This is the competitive world, man. You got to go out there and prove you're still somebody we should believe in at the highest level.
Yeah.
You now have 1,500 Major League plate appearances. You have 3 full seasons. You're 25. You should be growing fully into your prime year man muscle, man knowledge of the whole sport. Like, how are you being pitched? What should be your swing path, etc. Go win because like he's entered. This is his off season. He's an arbitration eligible player. Like, you're starting to cost some money and tick towards free agency. We're gonna have to make some decisions about you. That's just the circle of baseball life. I'm not gonna break out in Disney song here, but that's the circle of baseball life. It goes quicker than you think.
Yeah.
Where suddenly it's like he's the kid and now he's arbitration eligible and he's about to start his 4th year. You only get, a couple more years till free agency.
Right.
So
it's something I think a lot of Yankees fans are wondering too with Volpe is, and you could be quick on this if you want, but like, is he even trade out? Like, would you even consider a trade? Would a team even want to trade for him? Is he such a low value like that it's not even worth trading something like that?
This is like one of those things you should know. Like, there's a lot of teams that like Anthony Volpe, but they don't like him. Nobody's going to give the Yankees 100 cents on the dollar for what the Yankees think 100 cents is on this player. So this is a reclamation. You need to fix it. Anthony Volpe needs to fix it, and the institution that is the Yankees needs to fix it and come to peace with what is the best version of Anthony Volpe. I can't believe even the most ardent Anthony Volpe fan in the Yankee organization or the most ardent fan on the belief system of pull it in the air philosophy hitting would believe that this is the best version of Anthony Volpe. Because if it is, it isn't good enough.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
It certainly isn't. The other thing I want to talk about is, you hit on it before, Cody Bellinger. He's the big question mark, it feels like, for this Yankees offseason. He opted out. He's going to be a free agent. The market's going to be there for them because you've talked about so many things he does well. Are the Yankees going to be willing to go all in for Cody Bellinger and whatever it takes for that contract to be able to bring him back to the Yankees this year?
Yeah, Ryan, I think the Yankees will be big players for him. I'm curious what all in looks like for this player, because on a one-on-one year basis, just talking 2025, to me, he outplayed Kyle Tucker, and people are talking about $400 million. If you look at a 3-year window, which is often how these things are, he's not. He probably looks a lot more like Brandon Nimmo going into free agency. If you go back not far, arguably the best run organization in the sport, the Dodgers, non-tendered this player. So, this is all part of the swirl of, is he a $140 million player? Is he a $240 million player? Is he a three? I don't know what he is. The player who played this year is one of the most valuable players in the sport.
Yeah.
For the Yankees, he's particularly valuable, again, because they begin another offseason without a first baseman or a center fielder. By the way, you know who that's true about also? Maybe the Mets.
I knew you were going to say that.
Right? If Pete Alonso leaves, they don't have a center fielder. They might not have a first baseman. You could say it about the Phillies, right? They don't have a center field. They don't have an outfielder to some degree, right? And if they want to put Bryce Harper back in the outfield, they could put him at first, though I assume they would just leave Bryce at first and leave Cody in the outfield. They did it. Or a guy who's a five-tool player who succeeded in the clutch in New York, on the field, on the bases, in the batter's box. All 30 teams. Because they're unicorns.
Right.
Like I said, there's not that many of these players walking the earth. So the question is, what is the number? I still believe, and I don't know if we want to kind of get into some philosophical Hal Steinbrenner thing, that Hal Steinbrenner would very badly believes that for him to make money on an annual basis, not what the value of the franchise is, he has to drive the payroll under $300 million.
Okay.
Right? To do that would mean cutting, say, 20-ish million.
Right.
Which, if some of their young players play well, is probably conceivable with them still being a very good team.
And they're getting money off the books this year, too, with Aaron Hicks and...
But LeMahieu stays on the books.
LeMahieu stays on the books, but
Right.
Aaron Hicks' contract and the Marcus Stroman contract will come off.
Right, but again, Volpe's arbitration eligible for the first time. There's some natural razors coming. Oh, look, we're not going to take a tin cup out. My suspicion is the Yankees will end up with a $300 million payroll.
Right.
Again, my suspicion is this is the kind of player the Yankees push hard to try to retain. My sense was Cody Bellinger liked being here. There is some legacy. He knows his father played here. They're comfortable here, etc. But there's going to be competition for him. I think one of the things the Yankees could look at and say, okay, after 26, LeMahieu's off the books. After 27, Stanton's off the books. After 28, Cole and Rodon are off the books. So there is some evergreen place to go to do a extended contract for Bellinger. And if you believe in Bellinger, the athlete, the seriousness of the player, his total skills, I think they're all bad bets, Ryan.
Yeah.
Once you have a player in his 30s. We have a history of the game to suggest this isn't where you want it. But if you were starting to bet on players, he's a little bit like, to me, the hitting Max Fried, in that he's such a good athlete and so good at everything that he retains some value going into it. And in his case, his value is probably greater at Yankee Stadium with the short porch than it is almost any place else. That being said, it's a Scott Boras client. It's a guy who's had a fight for money these last few years. He opted into a contract because he was worried about what his marketplace would be. So my suspicion is whoever gives him the most money will get the player.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if it's $5 million here or that, but there's not going to be some year hey, you could give him 6, somebody else is giving him 8. You could give him 175, someone else is giving him 230. That's not happening. To me, this player will probably go where the most money is. I think I would really keep an eye on the Phillies. The owner of the team is a very motivated buyer. If I'm a Yankee fan, I am rooting like heck that the Phillies re-sign Kyle Schwarber so that even that owner says, how many of these guys can we have? Because they have a lot of already players in their 30s signed to long-term contracts. So that would be a big deal. And again, he's going to get a lot of money for a lot of years. I would suspect the Yankees, understanding his value to the team, and that they can cut payroll in other places, not with just what's leaving, walking out the door. Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, to your point, Stroman's off the books. Hicks is off the books finally for them on that 7-year contract. There are other things they could do. They could not qualify Grisham.
Correct.
They could see if they could trade Chisholm. Like, there are other places for a player this valuable to see if you could get him back on the books.
And then there becomes the question, if you don't get a Bellinger and he does sign somewhere else, and let's say Kyle Tucker is still out there.
I say no shot.
No shot, yeah.
I say no shot because I think the reason the Yankees wouldn't keep Bellinger is a financial one, and I don't see them doubling it to do Tucker. And I wouldn't – hey, look, Kyle Tucker is a terrific player, but I have watched a ton of big series. Usually it was Houston and the Yankees playing – where I've seen Kyle Tucker play. And I've left that series talking about Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa and George Springer and Jeremy Pena and Yordan Alvarez and Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander. I don't ever remember talking about Kyle Tucker. You could have convinced me he didn't play in the series. So I just watched a high-impact season from Cody Bellinger, not just statistically, but I felt his presence in games. Maybe if I watched 162 games of Kyle Tucker, I would feel that. From a distance, Kyle Tucker feels like a great supporting actor who's just about to be paid like a lead actor. And I personally wouldn't do that if I were any team. And I can't see the Yankees doubling or more what they're willing to pay Cody Bellinger to bring in Tucker. And by the way, I don't think Tucker wants to play in this kind of market because he'd probably have to hear crap like that from me.
It's certainly it's interesting you say that they wouldn't do that. I mean, he's like you said.
You just watch Kyle Tucker play in the postseason. I realize it's a very small atmosphere. Who's running to that?
Yeah,
like am I missing? Like he's really,
and he had a bad year.
He had a good year for most people.
For most people,
right?
But for him,
he had a year statistically a lot like Bellinger.
Yeah.
But I watch I know Bellinger did it for the Dodgers. I know Bellinger did it for the Cubs, and I know Bellinger did it for the Yankees. I know he's not like to me. I'm emphasizing Bellinger, and if I don't get him, I have to figure something else out. But I would emphasize Bellinger unless Bellinger doesn't want secretly hated it here. I would try to make it very hard for Bellinger to leave.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So if they don't get a Bellinger now, let's say they do get Bellinger in this scenario, how does the rest of the outfield play out? We've heard Spencer Jones. Could he potentially make his way to the Major League roster? Jasson Dominguez is still there. How do the Yankees fill out the rest of this outfield? Because Trent Grisham, in all likelihood, it sounds like he's not going to be back this offseason, unless I'm wrong and the Yankees do tender him a contract. How do you see that playing out?
Right. So just term-wise, they don't tender him a contract. They would have to give him the qualifying offer.
Right. Oh, sorry.
Tender is somebody under their control. So the question is, do they offer them the qualifying offer? And even if they do, does he accept it? Then he's a signed player for $22 million next year. And, of course, they have to make that decision before they know what's going on with Bellinger. So, if they don't offer him the qualifying offer, he's a free agent. They could bring him back as a free agent. They could long play it and say, okay, now we didn't do this. Would you come back and play with us for 3 years at 39 or 42, whatever it is? I don't know that I would get in the Trent Grisham business for that long. So one of the reasons I think Bellinger has value to the Yankees, beyond the obvious, is you could begin next year and say, if Spencer Jones earns his way onto the team, Bellinger could play more at first base.
Yep.
Bellinger's flexibility between the outfield and first base, where he can play both positions at a high level, change it, it just gives you the ability to be oh, Jones is ready. He'll play a lot of center field.
And Cody could play left as well,
yes,
really well
or
at a high
right,
level too. Or right, yeah.
it's a great chess piece
Yeah.
to have, only extending his value to keep him because it allows you to potentially save money someplace else, like more comfortably play Dominguez, more comfortably play Jones, more comfortably break in somebody who's not making as much money. So I think he has ulterior value in that way. So yeah, I think that next season will open with if they bring him back, where let's go north with our 13 best position players. Who are those? How does it fit together? Because again, remember, if Jones is part of it, you're very left-handed again, but it's just replacing Grisham, who's left-handed. I do think in the offseason they have to come up with a right-hand hitter. Now, is that Rosario? Do Rosario and Caballero cover you in a lot of areas? Does Oswald Cabrera coming back, like one of the things early this season, and it was just not a long runway, is he hit better right-handed than he had in the past. So, like if you had Rosario, Caballero, Cabrera, none of whom's really a power guy, but like they're good chess pieces who could move around, is that enough? Because Caballero could probably move around the outfield as long as his leg's okay. Right. And I watched him. He was part of the team in the postseason. He was doing all the pregame work. He was moving around fine. And I would think an offseason would make that even better. So is it that? Is it Caballero and Cabrera, and then you go and get a right-hand hitter? Is that Rob Refsnyder? Is it Austin Hayes? Is it that kind of player? It would be great if they could find somebody who can play the outfield, who hits right-handed, and also first base. Again, you could sit down. There's not a lot of those floating around. And that's part of the issue, because that would be the perfect chess piece also for the Yankees, is a guy who you think could hit lefty pitching well, who can play the outfield and first base. It was a guy who kills lefty pitching for multiple years, so I know it's not a freak, is Miguel Andujar. But he is a bad fielder everywhere, and you probably don't want to go back to it. But, do you know I had the second best batting average in the major leagues this year for guys with 300 plate appearances after Aaron Judge? It's Miguel Andujar.
That's crazy.
He hit well over 300 this year. And he is a good major league hitter, especially against lefty pitching, and he's not a giveaway against righty pitching. It's just he never got to the point where he was even just slightly below average someplace. Yeah. Third base, first base, corner outfield. So for a guy who doesn't hit for power, he's going to play baseball for a long time because he has a real skill set. But I would, considering Yankee left field, you want to bring in somebody who can if you put him there, it's I'll throw out a name. He just had a terrible year. He might be done. But I always like Lane Thomas. Yeah. But he just had a terrible year. Yeah. I don't, is he a minor league contract guy somebody could sign? If he's doing that, does he want to do it with the Yankees where he might not get a lot of playing time? I don't know. But they're going to have to bring in a right-hand hitting outfielder.
Well, you bring up a good point, and you also, you talk about a lot, pulling levers in certain situations. So that's the situation. If they bring back Bellinger, they bring back a right-handed bat for the outfield. You would hope maybe if in the dream scenario they could play first as well, but it's a right-handed corner outfield bat that can give them some depth off the bench when they face a tough lefty.
So let's pull. Can I throw one thing in? And it's kind of like the bigger thing, which is, I feel like between what they did in the off season, where they get a guy like Fernando Cruz who has more than a couple of years. And at the trade deadline, David Bednar, McMahon, Duvall, Caballero, they are a little better set up going into the offseason. Yes. Again, if I did nothing else but put Bellinger back on the team, I think you could line up that team and play.
Mm-hmm. Especially with that rotation that you're excited for.
Potential where Cole might go a full year, Schlittler, maybe get Clark Schmidt back in the second half of the season, maybe get the better version of Hill back. We never really saw that because maybe he got rushed or he wasn't fully whatever. So there is that. Now, I don't think the Yankees are going to stop there. They really want to restock the bullpen a little bit more. But simply getting Bellinger back, and the fact that they didn't trade the best of their farm system, and the fact that they added some players, especially in the bullpen, who are part of you start a bullpen next year, Bednar, Cruz, Duvall, Hill. Yep. It's not perfect, but it's fine. Now, can you find another reliever or two in the marketplace, like whether you're buying a guy. It would be great if they could find a second lefty. I think they need to add a starting pitcher just to feel comfort because, like, on one hand, you could look at the rotation and say there is an upside that might not get to where the Dodgers are now. But, like, the upside of a full-on Cole, a full-on Schlittler, a full-on Rodon, and a full-on Fried, and potentially Hill or Schmidt, like, that's pretty good if they get, like, the 90th percentile outcome from that group. And I haven't mentioned Will Warren, who had a nice little rookie season and is your depth again.
I wouldn't even call it little. I mean, he pitched all year for you.
Right. Like, he had a valuable his value outstripped his numbers.
Yeah.
Like, and if he's your depth back at AAA, it's not the worst thing that ever happened. And they have some pitching prospects outside, because I always point out, it's not what the Yankees are hyping. If you go ask about Carlos Lagrange, if you go ask about Elmer Cruz Rodriguez, or Rodriguez Cruz, I always get it backwards. If you go ask about Bryce Cunningham, if you ask about Ben Hess, you are told the Yankees have a unit close to the major leagues. Is it Tong, Sproat, McClain? I don't know, but those guys were not close enough to give them depth this year. I expect no fewer than 2 of those guys to pitch in the major leagues at some point next year. So the Yankees have a nice group of starting pitching, and having said that, I would protect myself with one more. It would be great if that was a swing guy. Like, what's the best version of Ryan Yarborough?
Is
it Ryan Yarborough?
Ryan Yarborough back, yeah.
Like, kind of guy where it's like you bring him back. You'd like it to be a little better than that, but, like, you also might, under the best circumstances, that guy might never start. Like, if everything hit, that guy would never start.
Right.
Because the one thing that would be hard to do, like, you could put Warren back at AAA. It would be hard to put a full-on, if you really believe what you just saw in Schlittler, it would be hard to put him back at AAA. Like, he feels like you've got to run with him because he was so good and see if it's all real or not. But, you know, like, maybe you have some sophomore thing for Warren or Schlittler. Maybe, you know, like, I would keep in mind Shane Bieber had Tommy John surgery in April of 2024 and didn't come back till August of 2025. Maybe Cole will be back in April or May, or maybe he won't.
Right.
They feel Schmidt will be in play the second half of the season. Maybe he won't. Maybe Hill's first half of 2024 was as good as it's ever getting. Yeah. Rodon and Fried were really heavily used starters who never had an injury-less stint. Like, if you and I were gamblers, would we bet at least one or the other would be on the IL at some point next year after both going up over 200 innings postseason included this year? So I would protect myself a little more with one more starter. And yet that's a tough one because it's going to be hard to sell a starter on come here, you might never start.
Yeah, it's a tough sell, but you get to be a part of a rotation where you could say, look, I mean, we're going for it all. You have a chance at a championship here. Yeah. Unlike a lot of the other major league clubs, which doesn't feel like they're all in like the Yankees.
The Yankees feel like they, under the best circumstances, they have a championship rotation available to them if they get to close to, let's say, over 80 percentile outcome and have some depth.
Yeah.
Where to absorb, in a way, you know, Ryan, they work a little bit of a baseball miracle this year. I spent an entire season saying this would be the problem. Yeah. They're going to run out of starting pitching because that group of young starters wasn't close enough. And Schlittler and Warren provided an answer nobody could have seen coming. Nobody on March 27th would have thought Will Warren's going to lead the major leagues in starts.
And no one thought that Max Fried and Carlos Rodon were going to stay healthy.
200-inning guys, and nobody saw Cam Schlittler coming as the guy you wanted the ball in his hand in October. So they had some real positive physical outcome that they should not assume next year. Right. But if they get even good health from the rotation and good return dates, where do you sign up for June 1st for Cole as a full Cole and August 15th for a full Schmidt? Like, as nice little plug-ins along the way, then you don't need anything. But I would guard myself. I would 100%. Get one. I would get one more, and I would be really aggressive on the minor league free agent, like what's the best version of Alan Winans that's better than that? Like, can I spend some money in that marketplace and get somebody to AAA who's a veteran, give him a June 1st opt-out and say, the June 1st opt-out makes sense because that's maybe when we get Cole back. You might get a lot of starts between then and June 1st, or you might pitch the whole year.
Well, look, and also let's not forget, I mean, like you said, Cole was – but they didn't have him at all this past season because that was such a big injury. So we can't say that wasn't total, all luck and health for them. I mean, they lost their best pitcher, but now they're going to get him back. But like you said, you don't know what version you're going to get to start. I do want to go back to the lineup real quick. So the levers, right? Like you always say, the Yankees always have option A, option B. They plan these things out. Let's say Cody Bellinger doesn't re-sign with the Yankees. Could they potentially, and I don't know, you would know this more than me. Let's say they don't believe in Dominguez long-term, and they're like, you know what, we're seeing he's not really a good fielder. We think the bat's there, but we just don't know if we can trust him in the outfield, and we really have to go for it this year. Or they maybe say, Spencer Jones, this is the best you're going to see from him. He's not going to be a real major leaguer. Could they potentially trade for a right-handed outfield bat to be that power for them a little bit more? It's a name I'm going to throw out here. You're probably going to tell me I'm crazy. Taylor Ward from the Angels. Guy hits a ton of homers, right-handed bat, slug. Could that be potential where the Yankees, weigh an option and saying, we didn't get Bellinger, but we can go get a Taylor Ward as a rental who gives us power from the right-handed side of the plate and could help solidify that left field for us, hopefully.
Yeah, I think Taylor Ward would be a Ryan Sampson nightmare if he was here because that's 30% strikeouts.
Yeah.
Which, again, against good pitching is what? I think that it's one of the reasons I would think seriously about trading Spencer Jones, which is, you better be very, very confident that he can be Adam Dunn with defense, which maybe he could. That's a pretty high outcome.
Yeah.
But to me, he feeds into your, the best version of him is going to strike out probably 30% of the time.
Right.
That's the best version of him. And the question is, do you want more of that in your lineup? If the exchange is 40 home runs and pretty good athleticism, bases, defense, sure, you'll try to work around it. The right-hand hitting high-end outfielder who's more unicorny like you're looking for, it's hard to find, man, because trust me, I keep looking for that guy. It would not be, to me, Taylor Ward is a 3.5 outfielder, not a 1 to 3 for a first division team.
Okay.
For the Angels, he's fine.
Right.
But I have a feeling if he's on your team, you're like, this guy's kind of a glorified third to 3.5 outfielder would be my suspicion because the strikeouts, the fact that he's not great on defense, he feels like the kind of guy you're always trying to do better than. I would say that if Jasson Dominguez had signed for $2.1 million as a amateur and never been given a nickname, where you think he could arc would be fine because I think there is a 20 to 25 homer, 25 to 35 steal, 30 to 40 double player in him, which is, by the way, nicely above average. Like if I told you he was going to be like an offensive version of like Brandon Nimmo, you go, wow, what a great internal. What if I called him the Martian? Oh, that wouldn't be good enough. So I feel like he's damned that they gave him their whole minor league finances one year and he got called the Martian and he was getting compared to Mickey Mantle. He's not going to be him. I thought he handled not playing well. I'm at every game, Ryan. He hooked himself onto Ahmad Rosario, who is a worker. And he was out with Ahmad Rosario early every day working when he wasn't playing. That would be very encouraging. I left with Yankee people telling me the plan is for him to go play winter ball in the Dominican and take a lot of reps in left and center. For his athleticism and what I think is a pretty good work ethic, there seems no reason why he should not be a major league average outfielder. Now, maybe there's just some people who are always going to read balls poorly and not read balls off the wall well and not have that great instinct what base to throw to. The Yankees have claimed one of the problems with him is he just hasn't had a lot of reps. Well, he should have been in winter ball last offseason. he certainly should be in winter ball this, and I mean play a lot.
Yeah.
You're young. You're not going to show up on February, whatever, tired. You'll take some weeks off. You'll be fine. He should go and get a lot of reps in the outfield. And because if he could be major league average, I think he has a good eye. Like, this is not a guy who strikes out from the left side so him and Ryan McMahon have something in common. Both of them could read a ball.
Yeah.
Like, McMahon's problem is he swings at strikes and doesn't hit them. I actually think Dominguez hits the ball, hits it relatively hard, and that there is a 20-plus homer guy in him. We saw there is a 20-plus steal guy in him. He walked off the bench on that last day of the season without playing a lot and smoked the double against Toronto. There is a 750 OPS 2020 player there. For $1 million, when you're trying to shove other guys who make a lot of money, that's really valuable if he's just major league average in left field. Major league average. Catch all the ones you should catch, play the ball clean off the wall, know what base to throw. Know what base to throw to. That is now a valuable player. And with a little chance to be better than that.
Because he's so athletic.
Because he's very athletic, and there's real power and twitch in what he does. So I'm not quick to give up on him. He is not going to be the Martian, but he could be a very good major league player who plays left field and hits sixth every day. And you're like, he might have to give up switch hitting. I'm not sure that the right side ever plays for him. Again, is this time? I would make sure he goes to winter ball and you tell his winter ball manager, they start a lefty, he's playing.
Yeah.
He's got to get reps there. And I think they have some advantage. I think he's going to play for the team that Luis Rojas used to run, the Yankee third base coach. So, like, I'm sure Luis can say, lots of innings in left, lots of innings in center. They start a lefty. You play this guy. So I wouldn't give up on him.
Okay.
I think there's an above average player there. Forget that he was ever called the Martian.
Okay. It's going to be hard for me to forget, but I'm going to try and think about that. So I do want to ask you before we finish up. This is just a little exercise. Can you give me 3 players, not named Trent Grisham's, Luke Weavers of the world, the guys, Ted Williams, the guys who are already free agents, but can you give me 3 players that you think on this Yankees roster that could potentially not be on this roster next year, that maybe work their way into a trade? They could, whatever it could be.
So I suspect Jazz Chisholm will be back, but I think you got to test the marketplace, because I think the chances of the Yankees signing him long term, if not 0 or close to 0, and if they're close to 0 and he's entering his walk year, like the Tigers president of baseball operations, Scott Harris, and their manager, A.J. Hinch, listen or watch the podcast with Joel Sherman and John Heyman. A.J. Hinch is on with us. They had their end-of-year press conference as we speak yesterday on Monday. And, of course, they were asked, are you trading Tarek Skubal because he's entering his free agent year? If you're asking when a guy's entering his free agent year who's about to win back-to-back Cy Youngs because you don't think you could sign him, if you're thinking about trading Tarek Skubal, you could certainly think about trading Jazz Chisholm, okay? And,
his value's never higher. It's a 30-30 season.
But the value's low because it's only 1 year.
Right.
Like it isn't like we've seen guys who have 1 year to free agency, their value goes way down, and the word's out on him a little bit, right? Okay. Is he playing to the scoreboard? Is he playing Jazz Chisholm fantasy camp? Like what's going on as far as what's important to him? That being said, it's hard to replace 30-30. When he's fully engaged, he's a very good second baseman. Yeah. So, my suspicion is he'll be back. Okay. Because the Yankees won't get the match for it. But Brian Cashman might be under orders. Hey, I'll re-sign Cody Bellinger, but we have to get to 275, and I'm sitting with the contracts. If we don't trade this guy, we ain't getting to 275 or 280 or whatever the number that Hal's going to want. And so I think he's in play. Would they listen? I think they'll listen on Spencer Jones and Dominguez. It's like that. My suspicion is they have a bunch of bullpen guys who they're going to non-tender come December. Mark Leiter Jr., Ian Hamilton, Scott Efros. So I assume before you non-tender them, you offer them around the league one more time. Is there somebody whose scouts were at AAA who are like, the Yankees really botched Ian Hamilton. I think if he threw his fastball more, we could do something for $1 million here. We should trade. So I realize how small penny that is, but like I think they'll go around the league one more time and say, anybody like these guys before we potentially non-tender them. So I think there's that. I think there was probably a time in midseason if you made a good offer for Ben Rice, you know, I think that's a much harder sell now that he showed what he could do, and the fact that he might be a middle of the order a middle of the lineup guy for a while. I'm not sure that it's front burner. So to me, if you said, and the one other one I would think is in play, but again, I think you're selling him potentially low, is Luis Gil. And I only say that because he doesn't have any options. And we were talking about what the Yankee upside rotation is. And unless you feel that Gil could go to the bullpen and help you, he becomes a guy who's like square and around hole. Like, does he do it? I don't want to walk away from that. The upside of him last year in 2024 was a guy probably good enough to make the All-Star team.
Yeah.
And win Rookie of the Year. We've seen that. He has started postseason games for them in consecutive years. Do the Yankees believe the first half of 2024 was kind of as good as it's ever going to get? He's never going to get close to that again. But that could be the marketplace. Also, the thing you always have to watch, and I kind of tell fans all the time, is service time really matters. Options really matter. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he'll becomes a non-movable piece once the season begins, unless you're willing to lose him for nothing. He becomes an easier trade piece in the off-season because you say, okay, let's trade him. Now we'll definitely sign a starting pitcher. But we'll have removed the guy without options who hems us in from April through September if he doesn't pitch well. Because like Luis Gil gets off poorly next year. The first three starts are bad. It isn't like you say, well, we'll call up Will Warren from the minors or whatever, or that's the place we'll plug Cole into, because you can't send Gil to the minor leagues.
Right.
So one of the things the Yankees, before the sport caught on, and so this was a place the Yankees were crafty. Like, I'm talking like 5, 10, 15 years ago, is a lot of their July trades were guys who they were going to have to put on the 40-man roster. Now, they weren't the first to think of it, but like not every team did it. And so they would pick the team in the sport who they're like, this guy can't fit on our 40-man roster, but you're not very good. You fit on your 40-man roster, so we're going to trade Jake Cave for Luis Gil.
Yeah.
Because Jake Cave isn't a 40-man roster guy for us, but he is for you, Minnesota Twins, or somebody like that, who they've traded over the years. And so I think you always have to think about the flexibility of your team for a full season. And I'm not sure that Luis Gil works perfectly in that unless you think all he needs is an off season to kind of get fully healthy.
Yeah.
And he's going to show up as the guy who was 2024 first half Luis Gil. If so, I mean, they'll have like 5 number 1 or 2 starters going round and round. That's the Yankee strength as we project forward is lefty hitting, Aaron Judge, and the starting rotation. And yet there's a house of cards quality to that starting rotation also. It could be almost what the Dodgers are now, or it can.
Yeah.
So I think it will be interesting.
That's certainly interesting and a name that definitely pay attention to as the offseason
just
progresses.
because he's out of options.
Yeah.
It's
makes
not
sense.
about, but he also just didn't have he didn't have a healthy year or pitch nearly as well.
His fastball was down, I think, a little bit.
So I just don't think they'll get enough. Like I would suspect they trade none of these guys.
No, but
like I think Jazz Chisholm will be on the team next year. I think Luis Gil will be on the team next year. I think Spencer Jones will be in their minor league system. But if you told me at the GM meetings in about 2.5 weeks or at the winter meetings at the beginning of December, hey, there's starting to be a lot of smoke and fire around Jazz or smoke and fire around Luis Gil or smoke and fire around Spencer Jones, I would understand why based on how the Yankees are currently constructed to go into next season.
Yeah. It's
and Jones, I'm sorry to cut you off, Ryan.
No, it's okay.
And of course, Jones becomes easier to trade if you re-sign Bellinger.
correct. And that's also like, again, part of that lever.
Yes.
Like how they're going to put this whole thing together.
Or Grisham accepts the qualifying offer.
Will you think they're going to offer him the qualifying offer?
I think it's very much a 50-50 thing. I wrote this in the Post I think one of the things, and I do think the Yankees have a very good baseball operations department, and I'm sure they're doing this. The qualifying offer is about $22 million.
Okay.
If he says yes to it, he's a signed player for 1 year at $22 million.
Yeah.
That's it, right? If he says no, he's a free agent, and the Yankees get about a fourth-round draft choice in 2026, in July of 2026. The one thing I would make sure before giving him the qualifying offer is I don't want to have him and Bellinger on the team. But I have to make a decision on him before I know about Bellinger. I would make sure, I would call every team and say, if we have this player at $22 million, can we trade him to you? And the example I used in the paper, and I'm not reporting that I'm using this as an example of something. The Royals are desperately trying to add offense around Bobby Witt Jr. Desperate to do it. Would they trade Carlos Estevez, their closer, who's making $13 million, and think of it as they're spending $9 million on Trent Grisham? The Yankees are saving $9 million the other way if they do this. Plus adding another guy to pitch late with Bednar, Cruz. Like, that's almost a perfect trade for the Yankees if they got Bellinger back, right? Because you would say, wow, like you'd really like that bullpen all of a sudden. It would like move up a notch where you say it's Bednar could close games, Duvall could close games, Estevez could close games. Certainly those three, plus Cruz, plus Hill. Now you're at 5 that you're pretty comfortable for the last 9 outs of the game. Now you go out and make another, see if you can find that lefty in the free agent market or in the trade market, a second lefty you like, kind of thing. And you suddenly have a good bullpen again. So, I use that as an example that the Yankees right now have to be investigating where they could trade a $22 million Trent Grisham. Can we take on this player who makes 10 or this player who makes 15? Or if we ate 5 of it, could we get access to this player? Or if we ate 8 of it, can we get access? Because for us, that player is worth $8 million plus his salary. Right. So I think one of the things that I'm sure they're doing, because they're good at their job, is that, which is if we qualify this player, can we trade him in the offseason? Because if we'll keep him if Bellinger doesn't come back, because he's the starting center fielder then, and hope that 2025 wasn't a mirage and he could pop another 30 homers and lead off and all that stuff. But I don't think you want Bellinger and him. So I think you have to know that you can. If Bellinger comes back, is he a tradable player? If he is, I think you qualify him.
Yeah, and I also think
so. You have to do 2 things at once.
You have to do 2 things at once, and also at the same time, if you brought both of them back, you would be putting Dominguez in a tough spot. The guy that you would hope that can start every day for you.
I think that Dominguez, off of this season, which wasn't great but wasn't awful, now deserves a chance to get the first 300 plate appearances of next season to say, what happened at Winter Ball? Who are you?
Yeah. To
begin to kind of get that. I think he showed enough to earn that.
Yeah.
Again, you just got to forget he was ever the Martian.
So as we wrap up here, Joel, it feels like a year ago we were in such a different place because it was all about how are the Yankees going to handle, can they re-sign Juan Soto? Are they going to pivot off Juan Soto? Ended up he went to the Mets. They pivoted brilliantly, I would say, off the Juan Soto, leaving the team. Now we're in this space where the Yankees go into, it feels like a little bit of a quieter offseason. It's all going to be about what happens with Cody Bellinger. That's the surrounding piece. And then a lot of the moves will go off of that. But it wouldn't be surprised me if they were a little more aggressive before the Bellinger stuff happens. For you, and you're going into this time, the World Series hasn't happened yet. What is this like for this period here as you're covering baseball and we're still before the GM meetings and the World Series isn't finished yet? What's this like for you in this time with all the information that could be coming in and out of you?
So, lots of text, lots of phone calls. We're in an interesting period. There are going to be 10 managerial changes minimum this offseason. Two of them have already happened.
Yeah.
Don Kelly staying
Schlitt
in
retiring
Pittsburgh,
too, which is
and
crazy.
Schlitt retired, but Skip Schumacher
Yeah.
is back. Look, the Yankees haven't officially announced that Aaron Boone's back. I'm sure they're going to next week. Brian Cashman, I think, is going to talk to, do a public
Would that
press
be worth
conference.
an announcement even though he's under contract?
I think that these are the Yankees. Like, they used to have to announce Joe Torre is coming back every year, and he won 4 World Series.
Yeah.
So these being the Yankees, I think that they'll announce the obvious, that he's back, etc. I think Brian will probably give up very few of the cards in his hands when he does it. But, like, you're calling. My job is to try to figure out what the cards in his hands are, of how he's likely to play it. It's an interesting time of year. There's the backdrop of the collective bargaining agreement ending December of 2026, and the fear of a long lockout and it impacting the 2027 season is on a lot of people's minds. Is this a year you really go for it because you have no idea? Is it a year you don't like again, one of the reasons I think that Hal is going to begin to bring down the payroll is he believes very strongly that there'll either be a salary cap or there'll be even more punitive taxes.
Wow.
Right? Like it feels almost impossible that there won't be one or the other. And so if you're not beginning the process of bringing down your payroll, it's going to be very hard to get to whatever salary cap number is. Now, I'm sure there's going to be grandfathering for a certain team. Like, how would the Dodgers get to say if the number were, like, the most you could have is $250 million?
Ugh.
The Dodgers are $150 million
Yeah.
over that right now.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a grandfathering period to allow teams to get down to a certain number. But I think that part of, like, that is weighing on everybody's thought process. Every executive I talk to now says, we're trying to figure out what it means. And who wins the who gets the World Series? Like, if the Brewers get to the World Series, like, will that make more teams say, hey, we need to emphasize ball and play, defense? If the Blue Jays get there, will that move people to say ball and play, defense? If the Dodgers get there, will that have everyone screaming, we need a salary cap? Otherwise, so there's some stuff that's going to be flowing over the next weeks and months. I think that the Yankees really are Cody Bellinger re-signing away from being in a very comfortable position to make decisions. Where they're not, like, if Cody Bellinger doesn't come back, they have to fix the team in a lot of different ways. If Cody Bellinger comes back, they could be opportunistic and fix at the margins. That is two different places. And if you think Scott Boras doesn't know that, then you haven't paid attention to baseball for the last 3+ decades. So he'll understand what this player means in not just strict value, but in the ability to operate in a level of, he could play first, he could play the outfield. Having him allows us now to, we could literally line up today and have a team.
Yeah.
It's not the team we're going to have. We still want to do better, but we could line up and feel like we have a very good baseball team moving forward. It's a really important chip for them.
Fascinating. It really is fascinating. Joel Sherman, year 2, we're done here with Pinstripe Post. I can't thank you enough for coming on here and doing this with us every single time. Your information and insight's awesome. A lot of fans appreciate it. This is going to be, again, something that fans are going to be talking about all offseason. What do the Yankees do? Do they bring back Bellinger? What's their pivot around that? What are the margin moves they can make? But also at the same time, we appreciate you always coming on here and sharing all that knowledge.
I appreciate that. We've really, like, it is, everyone knows the media market, who cares to know, is a tough landscape now for breaking through and making some dent and trying to where your voice or your written word has some imprint. And you're always kind enough to tell me numbers and stuff, and I know our numbers are going up. And so you thank me, I thank them for watching, because it doesn't make any sense to put your butt in the chair unless people do that. So Ryan and I are so appreciative of everyone doing it. If you like what we do, tell a friend to join us on the rocket ship, wherever we're going.
Well said. That's Joel Sherman. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure, as, again, we'll see what Brian Cashman announced next week as they bring back Aaron Boone and where they go from there. But as always, man, we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Ryan.